There are definitely circumstances where debt's warranted, but it's where the debt is creeping up. That is an ongoing deficit issue.
Somehow you pay things off eventually, but you don't realize how much interest you're paying all the time.
But you've left yourself cash strapped and you're just reusing it again because you don't have enough to put food on the table. And I call that the hamster wheel. And people hate this recommendation. It makes them so uncomfortable.
Divorce can be emotionally and financially overwhelming. That's why I'm teaming up with Sunny Wishart, president and founder of A la Carte Financial and a certified financial planner. We will show you how to understand all things money without feeling ashamed, overwhelmed, embarrassed. You will learn more, ask questions. No question is a dumb question. Welcome to Money with Sunny. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Money with Sunny. My name is Wendy Rovers. I'm a divorce coach and founder of Divorce Thrive. Sunny Wishart is an advice-only financial planner at A la Carte Financial. Today, we're going to talk to you about 3 steps to starting your financial journey: cash flow, debt, and savings. So, Sunny, cash flow. Talk to us about cash flow.
It's my favorite subject. When we say cash flow, what we're talking about, just to kind of eliminate the jargon, is the money coming in and the money going out on a regular basis. It's not long term. I like to look monthly because it's just a nice, easy way to, a lot of things run monthly. So that's what cash flow is. So you've determined I'm ready to look at my money. I'm ready to start a financial, some strategies to tidy up, to optimize my money. Let's get started. And what I'm going to do is I need to know where you're at. I need to determine what kind of household you are and where you're at in this cash flow. So there are 3 households that I see, and I need to know if you are a deficit household. That means I'm going to look at your monthly cash flow runnings and you're in the red. Are you a net zero household? You are making ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck. There's nothing left at the end of the month. Or are you a surplus household? And this is where I'll see there's cues to these things. So a surplus household is where you have more money coming in than leaving. And what's going to tip me off to that are large checking account balances. Like, okay, why do you have so much in your checking? They just not, let's start being more strategic. What's going to tip me off that you're a deficit household are credit card balances and line of credit balances carried month over month. That is a cue. So, sorry to rewind a bit. How do I know which household I am? So again, if you are in the red, that is you're going to say, I've got this credit card balance and I just can't pay it down. Whether it is growing or it's just sticking there, that is an example of just plain spending more than you made. And now you have these debts. And be it what it may, how the debts occurred, it's still a fact that you spent more than you made. There are definitely circumstances where debt's warranted, like a massive home reno, or who has $100,000 to make up their house. So there are things where those aren't too bad, but it's where the debt is creeping up. That is an ongoing deficit issue.
So when it's more
So
of a lifestyle.
exactly. Yeah, it's where it's stuff where you just can't put your finger on it. Like, I don't know where the money's going.
Right. You just don't keep track. You never really think about it. And somehow you pay things off eventually, but you don't realize how much interest you're paying all the time. I mean, I can remember being there. It's really cool when you start to figure this stuff out, that paying 20% interest on your Visa amount, it adds up to a lot. So when you start to create a plan and work with someone like Sunny, then you can it's about awareness and understanding where you're at. And from what I'm getting here is, you can't really move forward or create a plan or set goals until you have a clear idea of where you're at. And then once you know where you're at and you understand your cash flow situation, then you can begin to look at debt. Is that right? Am I kind of summing it up properly?
You got it. There's nothing worse than trying to tackle your debt and pay it off, but you've left yourself cash strapped and you're just reusing it again because you
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough to put food on the table. And I call that the hamster wheel.
Mm,
So that's why we're going to determine, like, if you are in a deficit, we have to put a plug in that first before you can start debt payment strategies.
great.
Of course, you have to service your debt to keep in the good books, but let's put a plug in it first.
And service your debt, you mean pay it off.
Minimum payments.
So make sure you're not paying interest if you can.
Yeah, like if you owe your credit card $5,000 and they say your minimum payment's $220, just pay the $220
Right.
until you can figure out where the bleed is, and then find extra money to put on it above and beyond the minimum. Minimums are terrible. I know you're going to be paying your credit card till you're 88 years old, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And the worst place to start is by putting all your money on it, leaving yourself with nothing, and then using it again. That's just perpetuating.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. And then number 2 is debt.
Yeah.
Talk to us about debt.
Yeah, so we've stopped the bleed. Perfect. We've done that. And I do this in my cash flow boot camps. We do a 3-month program. Step 1, if we have to stop the red, that's done. Next is just we've stopped that. So that's a big change. That's not something you just do and then move on. That's
Mhm.
something it has to become habitual. And so we have to kind of chew on that a little bit and get comfortable with this new strategy.
Mhm.
Then once you're comfortable, you want to start tackling your debt, but you also have to make sure you have a component for those one-offs. Those are the debt creepers. And those are
What's a
the things,
one-off?
the one-off, it's a big car maintenance.
Mm.
It's a vet bill.
Mhm.
It's a new appliance.
So it's kind of a surprise expense.
But the tough part is if you have these things, if you have a car, if you have a home, and if you have a pet, etc., these things are going to happen. And then we are often ill prepared to
Mm.
fix our furnace. And it's like, well, the furnace was 18 years old.
Mm.
So if you thought it was going to go for the rest of your life, so we have to have like so what I do is when we start finding a little extra money, I don't 100% put that towards the debt yet. I sit there and I go, okay, you need a little bit of money in another account because the idea is I need this debt to be dead to you. Regardless of the balance, regardless of the interest, it has to just not exist, and it has to not be a habit anymore. You can't think, well, I'll just use my credit card. You
Mm.
think, I'm going to use my savings and just like a little bit of a cushion.
Mhm.
So what I do after we've got the cash flow in line, we take the little extra money and I go 50-50. I want half of that extra money to go onto the debt in addition to those minimum payments. Those are
Mhm.
just running. Those are just running, like you have to pay those. And then 50% of extra money to that debt to start working away at it. And the other 50% to just a savings account to protect you from reaching for that debt ever again.
Mm.
If you don't have that and you have to reach for that debt again, we're back on the wheel.
Mm.
And with that amount that you've put on the credit is back with a balance again. So we have to stop the cycle.
Mm. Love that. And I can relate. I mean, it's okay. I'll just put it on my credit card. Yeah, I mean, who can't relate to that? Well, maybe you can't, Sunny. I don't know. You're beyond that. But yeah.
I love my credit card.
See, like I just put it on my credit card. Oh my gosh, I want that. Let's just put it on my credit card. Yeah. Oh my, it just seems like it's free, you know. So it's a shift in how you're kind of handling your money, and it's a new way of being when it comes to your money. Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's great. And number three is savings.
Hmm.
So we're chipping away at our minimum payments. Um, we've got a little account set up for the planned expenses that are going to happen based on what we have going on in our life, and then not using our credit card ever or as often,
Hmm.
and now it's savings.
Hmm. Yeah. So pro tip, first of all, before we run away from credit card, and people hate this recommendation. It makes them so uncomfortable. But
Uh-oh, I'm
it's
gonna
food.
cringe. I'm gonna
Yes, you
cringe.
will.
Okay,
Yes.
here we go. I'm cringing.
And we do this in our household. But you want to use your credit card, right? Because you have a major expense. Like we
Hmm.
just took a family trip, so of course put it on the card. Put the money on the card first.
Ooh. Uh-huh.
Nobody likes that. They're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I have to come up with it first."
Because
But
that's
it's
what it
true.
is. It's a shift in your mindset. It's a shift in how you're doing it. It's a shift in the way you've always done what you've always done, which may not be working. And as we know, if you keep on doing what you always have been doing, you're going to keep on getting what you've always been getting. So maybe it's
Yeah.
time to make that little shift. I like that.
So you put like, for example, we have a trailer, we just bought a new golf cart. Planned purchase. But of course I want it on my credit card because I want my points.
Yep.
So we transfer the savings to the credit card before we purchase the golf cart. It overpays the credit card. But that
Hmm.
doesn't matter. You're allowed to overpay your credit card. They
Hmm.
don't care. So it's not like you have to put it on and then pay it off first. No, no, no. If you have a zero balance even, put the money on it, it'll overpay and then it'll just take it right back. So that's kind of how we roll in our house. And that's that shift where use your own money. Don't use the credit.
Hmm.
Okay. So that's my little pro tip.
And then I have
It's
one question, and maybe you can address
yeah.
this too. So we're going to talk about savings, but when
Mm-hmm.
do you start saving?
Mm-hmm. So first you have to know your goals. Okay. So I'm not going to tell you to save here and there and everywhere until I know what you want. So if you're like, first of all, you've had that buffer account done. Great. Next. Oh, well, we're planning a
Well,
trip
wait one
next.
second. The
Yeah.
buffer account. How
Yeah.
much money should be in the buffer account? Like, is there a percentage of your income, or is there some kind of general amount?
It depends on your lifestyle and what you have. My rule of thumb is the more you have, the more you need saved. So if you have, like if you're renting an apartment and you take the transit system, I would get yourself like a couple grand in there. I know they'll say 3 to 6 months salary, but that's often so on it. It's so hard to achieve $10,000 in a bank account in case you can't work. Like, how about you just put a couple thousand in there? It'll buffer you in case something happens. And then let's move to other savings strategies, which you can still draw on these other accounts as well.
Great.
Like once you put money in an RSP or a TFSA, that money isn't dead to you. Um, so in a
So you
real,
would suggest like two, three, four, $5,000 type thing in this account.
yeah, depending, like, in our household, or, if you got a cottage, you have pets, you have a home, you have a couple cars, you need more money. Because if you think each of those things might need a couple grand in any given year,
Yeah.
you want at least $5,000 set
Yeah.
aside to cover you at
Great.
least.
Great. Okay.
So I
So
do start with
that's
like,
perfect. And now we move to savings.
yeah. So you have the buffer, it's protecting you from using your debt. Let's start strategizing. So it depends on, we got to do short, medium, long-term goals. In the short term, I want to do a little reno, or in the medium term, I really want to put my kids through school.
Mm-hmm.
And then long term, we all want to retire. So, starting to work towards those. So, and it also depends on like what platform to use. I'm speaking about your career of where I recommend savings. So anything that's short to medium term, a TFSA is an excellent, the tax-free savings account, which is poorly named. And I'll speak to that in a sec. But that is an excellent way to work towards short to medium term goals, get the money put in there. And then inside the tax-free savings account, so I don't know why it is so not promoted more, that you can invest in almost anything you want
Mm-hmm.
inside that product. So you could have just a little savings component in there
Mm-hmm.
for like, just going to have that in there because I'm going to be doing that reno. You can have some GICs and some guaranteed investments, because in 2 to 3 years, I'm going to want this money out to give to my kids to go to school or something like that. It's the beauty of the TFSA. Money goes in, money comes out, and your contribution room reopens up. And then this component I'm going to put in the markets for my 5-year plus plan, or 3-year plus.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to start participating in the markets based on my investor profile for some
And
more
I think that
growth.
what's important here is, um, we don't have to know everything. And that's why it's important to find the right financial expert to work with, because
Oh
they'll
yeah.
help you with your saving strategies. There's many options, and you don't need to know everything. You need to find the right people to work with. Yeah. So that's really cool. Okay, back to savings.
Yeah. So, and then for how to save, there's a lot of different ways. Of course, like the gold standard of saving is X amount a month. That is like this is what you want to do.
What's the X?
Like $200 a month or $600 a month, I'm saving, right? So picking a number of extra money that you happen to have that you could put in,
And when you
which
say gold standard, like that's a preferred setup. That's the ideal setup.
yeah. So before I go down that, I'll come back to that in a sec. I was thinking, don't forget to check your work. I need you to make sure that you're participating in any saving strategies your work is offering. If they have matching programs, stock options, things like that, and you're not participating, that is your step one to saving. You have to take those. That is free money from your employer. And I always do start to make sure people are benefiting from that first. Then we move on to additional stuff. And so, what I mean by monthly and a certain amount of money per month, why it's the gold standard is because there's this thing, the dollar cost averaging. So, ideally, when you contribute to a saving, like to an investment, you're contributing on a regular basis because historically you participate, like you're buying at different prices every time you buy. So
So
if
you're
you're just
participating in the market at different times, and that works out to be a better return on your money overall and over time.
yeah, they say
Yeah.
overall you end up buying at a cheaper
Yeah.
price if you buy regularly, as opposed to if you just, some people dump money in an RSP at RSP season, but that's one time a year lump sum, and you could be hitting the market at a high at that time of year, and you're not
Mm.
um
Mm-hmm.
and you're not buying at good prices. So, not that I'm saying don't do that, but more saying that because any savings is good. If you have a lump sum and it's bonus season or something like that, then nothing wrong with that. Just of course, if you can, if there's extra monthly money, let's start.
Mm-hmm. Like, so we've covered a few points when it comes to cash flow, debt, and savings. There's so much more to consider. And I think it's just really important to reach out and find the right person to work with. Come up with 5, 10 questions that you want to ask a financial expert, and interview a few people find someone that you're comfortable working with, and begin to learn. Thanks so much for this conversation. And if you're Sunny today, it's been great, eye-opening for me. And if you're watching and you have some questions, reach out to Sunny. Have a great rest of your day. You are perfect, you are loved, and you are important.